Tejosi tejomayi dehi Viryam asi viryamayi dehi Balam asi balamayi dehi Ojo asi ojomayi dehi Mannur asi mannungmayi dehi Saho asi sahomayi dehi Vishwani Devarsavitar Duritani Parasubham Yad Bhadram Tanna Subham Om Shanti Shanti Shantihim. From White Yajurveda. O Lord, thou art the embodiment of infinite energy. Do thou fill me with energy. Thou art the embodiment of infinite virility. Do thou endow me with virility. Thou art the embodiment of infinite strength. Do thou bestow strength upon me. Thou art the embodiment of infinite power. Do thou grant power unto me. Thou art the embodiment of infinite courage. Do thou inspire me with courage. Thou art the embodiment of fortitude. Do thou steer me with fortitude. O Lord, O thou the illuminator, do thou free us from ignorance. Do thou bring to us what is good and auspicious. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. This morning our subject is Vivekananda, heroic monk. Today we are observing Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary. Actually his birthday is on 4th of February. Vivekananda, a heroic monk. In 1963, during Swami Vivekananda's centenary year, I met a person in Advaita Ashrama who bought 71 photographs of Swamiji, framed them, and hung them around the wall of his room. He told me, I'm an elderly person. I cannot sit for meditation. But I stand on each photo of Swamiji and think of him. Thus I get 71 minutes meditation. What a wonderful way to think of Swamiji. I was very much moved. He made Swamiji as his object of meditation. In California, in 1900, Swamiji told the American devotees, you will see, within 10 years after my passing away, I will be worshipped as God. And it was true. Sometimes these tiny, tiny incidents come to my mind. One day Swamiji finished his bath in Balaram's house and going to his room, white cloth. One young attendant said to Swamiji, Swamiji, your body is so well built and very muscular. Your calf muscles are so beautiful. Swamiji smiled and said, Thakur amake dekhte bodo bhalobashten. The master laughed to see me. That is the only sentence he said. One of my favorite books is Reminiscences of Swami Vivekananda. When we read each reminiscence, we find each person describes Swamiji's eyes, fascinating eyes, Shanmohini Chokshu, eyes, Padma Palasa Lochana, lotus eyes, very long, protruding eyes. When Swamiji would sleep, his eyelids could not cover the eye. Amazing. Swami Premananda says in Varanagar Math, I had to put Swamiji's pillow in the sun to dry. At night he used to cry for Sri Ramakrishna, and his tears would wet his pillow. You know, sometimes when I read these stories, I think about love. The Guru and disciples, love. How much Sri Ramakrishna loved Swamiji, and how Swamiji said, nobody in my whole life loved me as Master did. Swamiji also gave his life to Sri Ramakrishna. That is real love. And at that time, when Swamiji returned from America, Shashi Maharaj asked Swamiji, what are the good characteristics, what are the things necessary to be a good orator? Swamiji first touched his head. You must have good brain and good memory. Then he put his hand on his face. You must be very beautiful, handsome. Third, he put his hand on his throat. Your voice must be sweet and melodious. Then he put his hand on his chest. You must have a good heart, large-hearted. Then he put his hand to the lower part and said, you must have brahmacharya. These are the characteristics of a good speaker, orator, teacher. And Swamiji had all of this. Swamiji is really a wonder to me. He lived in this world 39 years, 5 months, 24 days. But his life is so eventful and inspiring. About his message, Romarullah said, Vivekananda was energy personified, and action was his message to human beings. I shall read a passage from Romarullah's book, how poetically he described Swamiji's His athletic form was the opposite of the fragile and tender yet weary body of Ramakrishna. He was tall, 5 feet, 8.5 inches, actually 9 inches, some say, square-shouldered, broad-chested, stout, rather heavily built. His arms are muscular and trained to all kinds of sports. He had an olive complexion, a full face, vast forehead, strong jaw, a pair of magnificent eyes, large, dark and rather prominent, with heavy lids whose shape recalled the classic comparison to a lotus petal. Nothing escaped the magic of his glance, capable equally of embracing in its irresistible charm, or of sparkling with wit, irony, or kindness, of losing itself in ecstasy, or of plunging imperiously to the very depths of consciousness and of withering with its fury. But his preeminent characteristic was kingliness. He was born king, and nobody ever came near him, either in India or America, without paying homage to his majesty. When this quite unknown young man of 30 appeared in Chicago at the inaugural meeting of the Parliament of Religions, opened in September 1893 by Cardinal Gibbons. All his fellow members were forgotten in his commanding presence, his strength and beauty, the grace and dignity of his bearing, the dark light of his eyes, his imposing appearance, and from the moment he began to speak, the splendid music of his rich, deep voice enthralled the vast audience of Anglo-Saxons, previously prejudiced against him on account of his color. The thought of his warrior prophet of India left a deep mark upon the United States. How beautifully Romarola wrote about Swamiji. Amazing. Mrs. Francis Leggett I met two real human in my life. One is the German Emperor Kaiser, and second, Swami Vivekananda, king among men. Swamiji was a born hero. His mother worshipped Vireshwar Shiva to have a son. Those who have visited Benares know Vireshwar Shiva. I remember once I went at 4 o'clock in the morning. I saw many women, they took their bath in the Ganges and worshipping the Shiva. So my fellow monk told me, do you know what they are doing? Why are they doing worship? They are praying to Lord Vireshwara for a child, for a son. So Swamiji's mother worshipped and got Swamiji. Amazing. And gave the name Narendra. Nara means men, Indra means king. King among men, that was his real name. Pre-monastic name, Narendra. In Baranagar Math, Swami Shivananda reminisced that one night I was sleeping under the same mosquito curtain with Swamiji. At midnight I got up and found all around luminous light. Then I saw small emblems of Shiva with trident in hand or in deep meditation, and from their bodies this light was emanating. I marveled. I was astonished, seeing the lights coming from Lord Shiva's. Then I pushed Swamiji. Swamiji, I see some light. Swamiji turned his eyes and said, just brother's life, sleep. You will not have to watch those things. Then in the morning, when Shivananda asked Swamiji replied, they are Botuk Bhairav. Amar janma theke oরা আমাকে রক্ষা করছে. They are the guardian angels of Shiva. From my very birth, they are protecting me. That was our Swamiji. As you know, Swamiji got the boon from Lord Shiva in Amarnath that you will die according to your wish. Death was under his palm. Whenever he wished, he could die. I hope we can all get that kind of boon. Swamiji was physically, mentally, intellectually, morally, spiritually strong. Perfect in every respect. He was a young boy. He used to go to gymnasium, lifting the weights, all kinds of exercises, swimming, riding, wrestling. He was top in every respect, and he got a prize in the gym. And Swami Brahmananda was his friend. At that time, they were both are exercising in the same gym. There is a saying, morning shows the day. When we read the childhood stories of Swamiji, we marvel. What a presence of mind, strength, and common sense he had. It so happened there was a zoo in Wajid Ali's, Nawab Wajid Ali's house in Metia Bruj, which is 4 or 5 miles downstream from Calcutta. So Swamiji and some of his friends wanted to see that zoo. So they hired a boat from Calcutta, Princep Ghat, and went there. And while coming back, one of his friends was sick and he threw up. So the boatman says that you people will have to clean it, otherwise I won't let you go from this boat. They offered money, but you clean it, we cannot clean it, you clean it. So they had a verbal fight. So other boatmen also attacked these young kids. Then Swamiji jumped from the boat and he saw 2 European soldiers, British soldiers, walking on the bank of the river. So in his broken English, he explained to them their predicament. So they came and rescued all boys. And these boatmen were afraid of the soldiers, so they released all boys. Swamiji is a hero, leader. Then Serapis, a battleship, man of war, came to Calcutta during, at that time, Edward VII was the king. He was the Prince of Wales. So they wanted to see that ship. But Swamiji went to get you need a pass. The guard will not allow him to go. He is too young. So he went to the back door through the spiral. He went to that room where he found the officer was issuing the pass and took the pass and came out. And the guard was amazed that how did you go? Another story we understand, we think about Swamiji's heart. In the gym, they wanted to put a trapeze, so they need 2 long posts. So they could not lift that post. They found an English sailor was passing by and they requested. So he came, and holding that post, they're trying to put inside the hole. And it slipped, and it fell on the head of that sailor and wounded. He fell unconscious. Some of his friends ran away thinking that, if an Englishman dies, we will be punished and all those things. But Swamiji did not run away. He tore his cloth, wiped the blood, and they put water and began to fan and took him to a room in the gym. And he brought doctors and began to nurse. 7 days, Swamiji and some of his friends took care of that British sailor, fed him, raised some money, gave to him. It shows his heart. He will never run away when the problem comes in life. That is the reason. There is a famous saying in Hindi, Sid Dawe Sardar. If you want to be a Sardar, means leader, you give your head first. Swamiji was that Sardar, leader, from his very birth. And his heart would cry for the poor people. One of his friends, Haridas Chattopadhyay, was poor, and it is a BA examination, and he had no money to pay the fees. So he went to the school, college, and asked the superintendent, please allow me to appear in the examination. But he said, you will have to pay the college tuition fees first, and then university fee. Swamiji requested him, but he did not listen. But Swamiji knew that he goes in the evening, he goes to a drug place, just like a tavern, Gulirajda. Just all drug addicts go there. So Swamiji was waiting. In the evening when he was going there, Swamiji stopped him. He says, my friend Haridas is very poor. Please remit his college tuition fees. Otherwise I shall tell people that you go there. The man was scared. His name was Rajkumar. He was scared. He said, all right, I shall not charge the tuition fees, but he will have to pay the university examination fee. Swamiji said, that we can manage. And Swamiji came and told his friends, bus, you will not have to pay. It shows Swamiji's heart for the people, especially poor people. His father died. Whole responsibility of the family was on his shoulder because he was the oldest son and oldest person of the family. He was trying to get a job. No good luck. He arranged a job as a headmaster of Metropolitan School of Bowbazar. But he was fired within 3 months because Vidyasagor's son-in-law did not like him. He did not care. He tried to get a job. Then, as you know, he went to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna blessed him that your family will never suffer from plain food and plain clothing. Another thing we find in Swamiji, that is the background of his Western education. Do not accept anything without evidence. He examined Sri Ramakrishna. He fought with Sri Ramakrishna for 6 years. That he told Nivedita. I fought with my guru for 6 years. As a result, I know every inch of the way. Sri Ramakrishna also encouraged his disciples. Check as a money changer checks the fake coin. Watch a sadhu at daytime and nighttime, then trust him. Then Sri Ramakrishna passed away. The disciples started Baranagar monastery, suffer from poverty, starvation, but they never deviated from their idea. Then Swamiji began his travel all over India. We see from Bengal to Gujarat, Arabian Sea, east to west, and from the Himalayas to Cape Comorin, Kanyakumari. This large Arjavarta, the whole India, he traveled mostly on foot. From 87 till 1893, 6 years, thousands and thousands of miles he walked. He wanted to see the condition of India. As an itinerant monk, there are many fascinating stories during his travel. Once he was going through Bihar. You see, Shippa Mutiny was in 1857. So the British people thought that some monks in disguise of the rebellion moving around. So Swamiji was stopped by a Muslim police officer who was riding on a horse. Hey, stop! Swamiji stopped. Who are you? Well, you see that I am a monk. Don't you see my ochre cloth? Oh, all monks are badmash. They're all bad, wicked people. Swamiji kept quiet. You come with me. I shall put you in jail. Swamiji said, that would be wonderful. How long will you keep me in jail? Well, maybe 2 weeks to 1 month. Why not 6 months? Swamiji said. That police officer was perplexed. He could not figure it out what it means. Why do you want to stay in jail for 6 months? Look, my life is very hard. I don't get food. At least if you put in jail, I shall get 2 square meals a day. Please put me in jail. The police officer was thinking, what a person I got. He said, hey, bhag jao. Get out from this place. Swamiji began to walk again. Very fascinating stories. When he was in Banaras, which is in Durga temple, a lot of monkeys. So some monkeys chase Swamiji, they scratch your body, you know. Oof. So he was running. So a monk from a distance shouted, face the brute, face the devil. When Swamiji faced, the monkeys ran away. Swamiji told this experience to the American people during his lecture. Face the brute, face the devil, don't run away. Then he recounted some of his stories during his Himalayan travels. Once they are walking, Swamiji gave a lecture in America, Man the Maker of His Destiny. There he told this story, that when we are moving, it was a Charai Utrai, up and down in the Himalayan range. So when they are up, one monk says, I cannot go anymore. My chest will fall apart. Swamiji says, look, look, look. Watch went back. Many, many miles we passed, we crossed. And this, it will be under our feet right now. Move on. That is Swamiji. That is Swamiji. Move on. Go onward. Then he told another story. That I was in Himalayas, not much food. The villagers are very poor. Still they would share a little bit to me. One day I was thinking, what is the use of keeping this body? Taking this food from these poor people. I shall not go for begging anymore. I stayed in a cottage for 2 days without food, but he was very thirsty. I went nearby in a spring to drink a little water. After drinking water, I sat on a piece of a stone and I was thinking of God. All of a sudden I saw a tiger in front of me, big tiger. Then I thought, well, I am so happy. I could not help people. Let my body be the food of this hungry tiger. I was just waiting. This tiger should eat me up. At least my body will be useful for an animal. I was counting my minutes. Then I opened my eyes, I saw the tiger left. I realized perhaps the Lord has some work me to do. I have many things to do. You know, when we read these fascinating stories, we wonder how Swamiji was protected. He had a mission in his life. Then Swamiji became very sick, like diphtheria. He could not swallow in Rishikesh. So some brother disciples brought him to Miraj in a doctor's house. Trilokanath, I forgot his name. Miraj is between Calcutta, from New Delhi to Hardwar, Miraj. So several, I think 6, 7 brother disciples are there. They stayed there for 3 months. Then Akhanjananda came, he has also pneumonia. They are all taking treatment from that doctor. A good devotee. One day Swamiji cooked pulao. And the brother disciples, they are eating. Turiyananda wrote in his letters, I shall never forget that story. Swamiji was serving food to us, and we are praising how beautiful, how nice it is, how delicious. Swamiji gave the whole food to us and he did not eat. So when we said, Swamiji, will you not keep something for you? No. You boys eat. I ate enough in my life. When I read this story, tears come from my eyes. Only this person can be a leader. Amazing. Amazing, this Vivekananda. Swamiji traveled all over, but maximum time he stayed in Gujarat. Gujarati people are very, very sadhu loving. They feed the monks, they take care of it. Anyhow, then Swamiji went to Alwar. You see, in Gujarat, then Swamiji came to Rajputana. Raja Ajit Singh, Swamiji's disciple, became his disciple, who helped Swamiji to come to America. Then, when he went to Alwar, he met Raja Mangal Singh. The minister said, there is a very Pandit sadhu, very learned monk is in town. The king says, invite him in my court. Swamiji went. Then king said, you are a very learned man, why do you move around as an itinerant monk? Why don't you take a job and earn money? Swamiji said, oh king, your duty is to serve your people. But you go on, most of the, Swamiji heard about him, you go to the parties with the English people and go for hunting. Why do you do that? I love it, the king replied. Swamiji said, I also love my itinerant, this begging money, itinerant monk, live on alms. I also love it. You know how Swamiji was bold, hero, talking with the king. Then the king asked, you know, Swamiji, let me tell you, I don't like the Hindus worship some stone, some wood, and some clay. Will it do any harm to me? My mom means all the Hindu gods and goddesses. Swamiji said, well, it is all your karma. Then Swamiji saw there's a big oil painting of Raja Mangal Singh on the wall. Swamiji asked the minister, could you bring down that picture? It was done. Swamiji asked the minister, spit on it. Spit on this picture. They are alarmed. The king was puzzled. What is wrong? This is a canvas. The king is not there. It is only an image. Spit on it. The minister said, Swamiji, it is the resemblance of our king. How can I be disrespectful to our king? Then Swamiji told the king, did you see? Your minister does not want to spit on your picture. He see you in that picture. So the Hindus do not say, oh earth, oh clay, oh stone, oh wood, we salute you. The Hindus say, O Krishna, O Rama, O Mother. They see gods in those emblems, in those images. Raja Mangal Singh says, Swamiji, you opened my eyes today. How bold Swamiji was. Swamiji traveled and traveled, went to Kanyakumari. I went there a few times. It is the last beach of Indian rock in the three oceans, you can say. Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Indian Ocean. These three places. The three oceans or seas meet that place. That is called Kanyakumari. Swamiji had no money. He wanted to go to that rock. So what did he do? He jumped into the ocean. Swam. Quite a distance. That place is infested with sharks. But he did not care. 3 days into he stayed there. If you read one of his letters, sitting on the last beach of Indian rock, he hit upon a plan. What did he see? He visualized his whole travel in India. How India is under tamas. How millions and millions of people, poor people, how can I help them? That thought, how can I serve, uplift my countrymen? I hit upon a plan. To fulfill that plan, Swamiji came to America to earn money, to help the poor Indian people. Fantastic story. Swamiji left India 31st May 1893. First he stopped in Hong Kong. Not first. On this way he stopped in Hong Kong. And he had the boat, at that time you will have to, no aeroplane, boat, steamer. He stayed there for 3 days. So he, like other tourists, he wanted to see a Buddhist temple. So he took Buddhist temple, Chinese Buddhist temple. So he asked a Dobhashi, interpreter, I want to go visit. Oh no, we are visiting many places, but I want to go to the monastery. Oh no, they will hit you. Well, no, I want to go, you come with me. So when they are walking, some monks with a stick in hand chased them. So the interpreter ran away. So before he ran away, Swamiji grabbed his hand and told me, in Chinese language, what is the words of Indian yogi? So he said. So when those monks were trying with their rod in hand, wanted to attack Swamiji, Swamiji raised his two hands and shouted, Indian yogi, Indian yogi. Immediately they dropped their stick. And then they are asking, Kabach, Kabach. Swamiji was asking the interpreter who was far away, tell me what they are asking for. Well, they are asking for Kabach in Chinese language. Why? Well, they are afraid of ghosts and just bad spirits. So they are seeking help from you. You are a yogi. So Swamiji took some papers and wrote Om in Sanskrit and gave to this monk, each one. Om, Om, Om. Kabach. Swamiji was so bold. In Japan, he was in Nagasaki, Kobe, Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, Yokohama. I visited Kyoto, Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka, Kobe, Nagasaki. I never been there. Nivedita said, Mr. Tata told me, Jamshedji Tata was also Swamiji's co-passenger to America. Mr. Tata told me that when Swamiji was in Japan, everyone who saw him was immediately struck by his likeness to Buddha. He was like Buddha. Swamiji landed in Vancouver, 25th April, 1893, reached Chicago, 30th April. Sorry, 25th July. 25th July, 1893, and reached Chicago, 30th July, 1893, and he met a woman in the train named Keiichi Sanborn of Boston. I visited her house in 1972. It is outskirts of Boston. Anyhow. Swamiji, as you know, Swamiji arrived in Chicago. He found that Parliament will start in September. He went to a hotel, heavy charge, he could not figure it out. He has very little money. He sent a cable to Allah Singh, sent money, otherwise I will starve on the street here. So he thought, some people suggested go to Boston, there things are cheaper. So he went to that Kate Sanborn's house and became a guest, and just to save money. He has very little money. And the hotel charge was very much in Chicago. Anyhow, then Swamiji met Dr. Henry Wright, and he gave the credentials. Swamiji came to Chicago, then became a representative of Hinduism at the Parliament of Religions, as you know the whole story next one. In that parliament, Annie Besant, he was the representative of Theosophy. I shall read her reminiscences, what he saw in Swamiji. A striking figure, clad in yellow and orange, shining like the sun of India in the midst of heavy atmosphere of Chicago, a lion head, piercing eyes, mobile lips, movements swift and abrupt. Such was my first impression of Swami Vivekananda. As I met him in one of the rooms set apart for the use of the delegates to the Parliament of Religions. Monk, they called him, not unwarrantably. Warrior monks was he. And the first impression was of the warrior rather than of the monk. For he was off the platform, and his figure was instinct with pride of country, pride of race, the representative of the oldest of living religions, surrounded by curious gazers of nearly the youngest, and by no means inclined to give step, as though the very faith he embodied was in aught inferior to the noblest there. It was not to be shamed before the hurrying arrogant West by this her envoy and her son. He brought her message. He spoke in her name, and the herald remembered the dignity of the royal land whence he came. Purposeful, virile, strong, he stood out, a man among men, able to hold his own. On the platform, another side came out, the dignity of the inborn sense of worth and power still were there. But all was subdued to the exquisite beauty of the spiritual message which he had brought, to the sublimity of the matchless evangel of the East, which is the heart, the life of India, the wondrous teaching of the self. Enraptured, the huge multitude hung upon his words. Not a syllable must be lost, not a cadence missed. That man, a heathen, said one, as he came out of the great hall, and we send missionaries to his people? It would be more fitting that they should send missionaries to us. What a beautiful way Annie Besant recalled about Swamiji. He was a Vedanta lion, Vedanta Keshari, preached Vedanta to the West. I think it was in December 1894 in Brooklyn Ethical Association. Swamiji said, I have a message to the West as Buddha had a message to the East. What was that message? Vedanta. The divinity of the soul, harmony of religions, unity of existence, oneness of Godhead. Those are the four main tenets of Vedanta. After his success in Chicago Parliament of Religions, one of the eyewitnesses, Angaric Dharmapal, was the representative of Buddhism, told in Calcutta in April 1894, look what he said. Mr. Dharmapal said that life-size portraits of Swami Vivekananda are found hung up in the streets of Chicago with the words, Monk Vivekananda. Beneath them, and thousands of passers-by comprising men of all classes are observed to do obeisance to those portraits in the most reverence way. We cannot think of it. Can you think in Calcutta street, all posters fell, Vivekananda, Hindu monk of India, colored pictures. We use it in our Vivekananda East East West. It is unthinkable. He started Mahabodhi Society in Calcutta, and there he mentioned, behind his success, three things Dharmapal mentioned. Behind his success, his uncommon command of English language. You see, many people speak, American people cannot understand Swamiji's accent. Swamiji's words are so understandable, beautiful, penetrating. Second thing, his supreme tolerance of religions. Everybody represented his own religion, but Swamiji represented all religions of the world. Third, his wonderful renunciation electrify the audience. Command in English language, tolerance of all religions, and his brahmacharya, wonderful renunciation, electrified people. Then what happened? After the success of Parliament of Religions, Swamiji exposed the missionaries. £1 million income dropped. Swamiji said, Mr. Leggett used to give $10,000 per year to the missionaries. So the missionaries became very furious. They tried to spread a scandal against him, tried to poison him in Boston, in Detroit, because their income dropped, and Swamiji exposed them. like a hero. Swamiji was cheated by that lecture bureau. In one lecture, Swamiji used to get $2,700. And these people gave him only, Swamiji, $250. Then he had to sever his contract with them. I read another passage that Swamiji alone was fighting against the missionaries. It was in Detroit. February 1894. One thing I would tell you, and I do not mean any unkind criticism. Swamiji was telling the audience, they are very, very conservative Orthodox Christians, mainly Presbyterians. You train and educate and clothe and pay men to do what? To come to our country and curse and abuse all my forefathers, my religion and my everything. They walk near a temple and say, you idolaters, you will go to hell. But the Hindu is mild, he smiles and passes on saying, let the fools talk. That is the attitude. And then you who train men to abuse and criticize, if I just touch you with the least bit of criticism, with the kindest of purpose, you shrink and cry, do not touch us. We are Americans. We criticize, curse and abuse all the heathens of the world, but do not touch us. We are sensitive plants. You may do whatever you please, but we are content to live as we do. And in one thing we are better off. We never teach our children to swallow such horrible stuff. And whenever your ministers criticize us, let them remember this. If all Indians stand up and takes all the mud that is at the bottom of the Indian Ocean and throws it up against the Western countries, it will not be doing an infinitesimal part of that which you are doing to us. And what for? Did we ever send one missionary convert anybody in the West? We say to you, you are welcome to welcome to your religion, but allow us to have ours. You call yours an aggressive religion. You are aggressive, but how many have you converted? Every sixth man in the world is a Chinese subject or a Buddhist. Then there are Japan, Tibet, Russia, Swamiji, Siberia, Burma. Swamiji was talking about Buddhist, lot of Buddhist conversion. Everything that has selfish for its basis, competition for its right hand and enjoyment as its goal, must die sooner or later. If you want to live, go back to Christ. Go back to Him who had nowhere to lay His head. Yours is a religion preached in the name of luxury. What an irony of fate. Reverse this if you want to live. Reverse this. It is all hypocrisy that I have heard in this country. In this nation is going to live. If this nation is going to live, let it go back to Him. You cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. All this prosperity, all this from Christ, Christ would have denied all such heresies. If you can join these two, this wonderful prosperity with that ideal of Christ, it is well. But if you cannot, better go back to Him and give up these vain pursuits. Better be ready to live in rags with Christ than to live in palaces without Him. That is a fantastic lecture Swamiji gave. It is better to live with Christ in rags on the street than to live without Christ in the palaces. But missionary people became very angry. But you see, the health sisters cautioned him, Swamiji, be careful. Don't be so much outspoken. They may kill you. They may murder you. But Swamiji was brave. He was a hero. If you read those letters of Swamiji to Alasingha Perimal and brother disciples, you will find what is going on at that time. Swamiji is fighting alone against all these odds. These missionary people brainwashed beautiful American people, gave all wrong information to them. That Indian mothers threw away their childs in the mouth of the crocodiles, and all sorts of nonsense they told them, so that they can get money from the American people. If you read Swamiji's lectures during that period, he is lecturing manners and customs of India, Indian women. Then he talked about Vedanta. Then he talked against sin, the doctrine of original sin. You people are the children of immortal bliss. You are not sinners. It is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing libel on human nature. That is the way Swamiji was trying to give correct information to the American people. Swamiji has a lot of good American, large-hearted people, open-hearted, large-hearted American people helped Swamiji and saved him and protected him. It is some orthodox, some narrow, bigoted people attacked Swamiji. Swamiji returned to India in 1897, started Ramakrishna Mission to uplift India. He sees these millions of monks leading this vagabond life. I want to use this energy for upliftment of my society. That he did. That is Ramakrishna Mission. You are taking food and advantages of these people. Give and take, serve them, love them, give them education. Look, the program Swamiji made for Ramakrishna Mission. That one man changed the thought current of India. If you read his lectures from Colombo to Almora, you will see what Swamiji did. He regenerated India. All these freedom movements, they were inspired by Swamiji. Many people say the police would search that whether Vivekananda's books in the room or not. Swamiji told his disciples, it is not the time to worship Krishna and Radha and with the flute. Worship Krishna as a Partha Sarathi, standing on a chariot, giving great life-giving message to Arjuna. Klibhyammasmagama partha naitatte upavidyate kshudram hridayador bulam taktatishta parantapa. Give up this unmanliness, it does not befit you. Arise, fight, juddhasya, fight. Uttishta, juddhasya. Shatrun jitva. Conquer your enemies, enjoy this world. That message we need. I remember when Swamiji was lecturing in Madras, so much crowd, his voice could not go. At that time there was no microphone, you know. Swamiji got up on the top of a horse carriage and gave the lecture like a Gita fashion. Read those stories, those lectures of Swamiji, Colombo to Almora. You will be inspired. criticism came also in India. Some Orthodox people attacked Swamiji. Swamiji smiled. Do you know what did he say? हाथी चले बाजार में कुछ तब के हजार साधुओं को दुर्भाव नहीं जब निंद संसार. When an elephant walks majestically through the street, the dogs bark. But this but the elephant does not care. Similarly, a holy man get criticism from the people. He doesn't care. Swamiji says, the more criticism comes, the more this truth will penetrate into the society. It is good that people have criticism. That is the sign of life. Swamiji was a hero. He did not care. He used to quote that the Punjab, that famous saying, 100 lakh ek par chadao jab Guru Gobind naam sunao. If a Guru Gobind, that great hero of Sikhism, if his name people uttered, they can defeat 1.25 million people. 100 lakh, 125,000 people they can defeat. One man, taking the name of the Guru. Swamiji was very fond of these heroic Sikh people. When Yogananda died, Swamiji was very much hurt. Do you know what he said? I liked it. Swami Vivekananda recalled. Swamiji was very angry. He did not go to the shrine for a week because one of his brother disciples is gone. Why should I be angry with the master? Why should I expect that all things will be ordained according to my wishes? And why should I be sad at all? Am I not a hero? My master used to say, laying his arms upon my shoulder, Naren, you are a hero. The very sight of you inspires me with courage. Yes, I am a hero. Swamiji was a hero. Even Nivedita mentioned, sometimes in the West we found behind his monastic dress, his heroic nature prevailed. He was a Kshatriya, kingly caste. He was born to uplift the whole humanity. It needs tremendous power. Sri Ramakrishna imparted that power to Swamiji. Swamiji was a real hero. Thank you. Om Namah Shri Jyotirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachet Sukha Sarupaya Swamine Tapoharine. I bow down to Swami Vivekananda, who is the king among the monks, who is the hero among human beings, who is the embodiment of existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, and who is the savior of humanity. We bow down to Vivekananda again and again. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Please give us a few minutes time, then we shall go to Zoom and I shall in the question and answer. Thank you.